When placing my late husband's ashes in the tomb, our son uncovered the obscured name on the other side of the headstone. There, unmistakably, was the name of his first love. I confronted my son, only for him to retort, "Mom, you're just a country woman who trapped Dad, a senior engineer, with obligations his whole life. You should count yourself lucky, now that they're both gone. Shouldn't you finally grant these star-crossed lovers their dying wish?" my granddaughter said regretfully. Though Grandpa and Grandma Jean couldn't share a bed in life, we've at least reunited them in death. It's the final tribute we could pay to their undying love. I literally died of rage right before the tombstone. When I opened my eyes again, I'd returned to the day my husband gave my college admission letter to his childhood sweetheart, Sister Yao. Something terrible happened. Brother Wagwa fell into the water. A young girl came running in breathlessly calling for me. At that moment, I sat by the hearth, carefully examining a thin sheet of paper. Congratulations to student Yao Hanmei for being admitted as a freshman to Harbin Institute of Technology's class of 1977. Reading these words, I burst into tears. I'd been reborn to the exact moment I received my college acceptance letter. My husband Jiang Weigua hadn't yet forced me to surrender the letter to his unattainable muse, letting her take my place at university. The young girl quickly reassured me, "Sister Yao, don't cry. Brother Weigua is fine, he's already rescued Comrade Zhang. He sent me to tell you to bring some clothes." Wiping away my tears, I thanked the girl and carefully tucked the admission letter beneath the bedboards. Then I followed the girl to the riverside. A crowd had gathered along the bank, whispering and pointing. At the center stood two drenched figures locked in an embrace. The woman clung to the man's neck, weeping bitterly with tears streaming down her face. "Make way, Sister Yao's coming." The girl's loud shout made the man turn his head, staring at the man's youthful face. I felt dazed. This was my young husband Jiang Weigua. Frowning at me, he demanded, "Didn't I tell you to bring some clothes? Why did you come empty-handed?" I looked at them and said, "What's the point of bringing dry clothes when you're both soaked to the bone?" In my past life, I obediently fetched clothes only to get scolded by Jiang Weigua for not bringing any for Zhang Wenli. Seeing me arrive, Zhang Wenli peeked out from Jiang Weigua's arms. "Sis-in-law, don't blame Weigua. He only went into the river to save me." Sob. Jiang Weigua patted her back soothingly. There. Stop crying, you're safe now. Everything's alright." Several village women turned to stare at me simultaneously. One curled her lip disapprovingly and moved to separate the couple, only to be brushed aside by Jiang Weigua. Without the slightest hesitation, he carried Zhang Wenli straight back to my house. A neighbor pulled me aside and whispered urgently, "Hanmei, don't be naive. How could you let Weigua carry that educated youth Zhang? There's always been something fishy between them. If that vixen steals him away, you'll regret it till your dying day." Steal him? Jiang Weigua pined for Zhang Wenli his entire life. He even demanded to be buried beside her. Who wouldn't be moved by such profound affection? I went back to cooking in the kitchen. In the previous life, it was their drowning incident that ruined Zhang Wenli's reputation. My mother-in-law and Jiang Weigua forced me to give my admission letter to Zhang Wenli. They went to university together, landed prestigious jobs after graduation, lived glamorous lives, and eventually achieved fame and success as respected intellectuals and engineers. As for me, I'm just a mud-stained peasant woman, struggling day and night in the fields with my children and mother-in-law, barely earning measly work points. Just trying to feed a family of 4, no, make that 5, since there's Zhang Wenli too. "Hanmei, where are you?" Jiang Weigua shouted frantically through the house. "Come help Wenli change her clothes, she's freezing." Jiang Weigua's words ignited a fire in my chest. I stormed into the room and shouted, "What is she?" "Helpless, a grown woman needing me to dress her." Jiang Weigua looked startled and confused. "Why make such a fuss over nothing, Hanmei? When did you become so petty?" I sneered. "If you're so generous, why don't you go dress her yourself?" Veins bulged on Jiang Weigua's forehead as he exploded. "Yao Hanmei, stop this nonsense. Wenli and I are completely innocent. We're married with children. How can you still doubt us like this?" Zhang Wenli sobbed hysterically in her room. "I can't go on living. How could you say such things about us, sister-in-law? After what's happened, I'd rather die." With red-rimmed eyes, she rushed out crying, "Weigua, I'm sorry for ruining your reputation. I never should have jumped in the river to save you. My reputation's destroyed. There's no way out for me now. Weigua, promise me you'll live well and fulfill the dreams we couldn't achieve together." As she tried to bolt outside, Jiang Weigua grabbed her in a tight embrace. Jiang Weigua then turned and shouted at me, "Yao Hanmei, must you be as vicious as those shrews? Will you only be satisfied when you've driven someone to their death?" I rolled my eyes exasperatedly. What's wrong with me? Not changing her clothes means I'm trying to kill her now. Jiang Weigua, stop putting words in my mouth. Watching this tragic lovebird act unfold left me completely unfazed. In my past life, I fussed over Zhang Wenli, changed her clothes, made ginger tea, yet she never appreciated my kindness and still forced me to surrender my college admission letter. Zhang Wenli sobbed even harder, thrashing violently in Jiang Weiguo's arms. What's wrong? Why are you crying? My mother-in-law came home holding our 3-year-old son's hand, glaring at the pair. Weiguo, I heard you jumped into the river. Why were you holding Comrade Zhang? Let go of her this instant. I saw them exchange glances before Jiang Weiguo hastily released Zhang Wenli. Mom, I accidentally fell in the river. If Wenli hadn't saved me, I wouldn't be standing here now. I scoffed. Weiguo, make up your mind. Did you save Comrade Zhang or did she save you? By the riverbank she claimed you rescued her. Now suddenly she's your savior. Are you two putting on some kind of soap opera for me? Jiang Weiguo's face froze before he snapped angrily. Hongmei, why are you being so sarcastic all day? Don't you trust me anymore? When we got married, I told you, you need to be more broad-minded. My face darkened. Jiang Weiguo, how much more magnanimous do you expect me to be? 50 years. I've devoted 50 whole years of my life to this family. I worked to put him through school, cared for his mother, bore his children, yet after death, he chose to be buried with another woman, even telling our children his true love belonged to someone else. Bitter resentment nearly erupted from my chest. Clenching my teeth, I turned and stormed into the kitchen. Jiang Weiguo watched my retreating figure and barked another order. Hongmei, make some ginger tea, put extra brown sugar in Wenli's bowl. Out of habit, I began searching for ginger as soon as he spoke. Only after tossing it into the pot did it hit me. Why was I still obeying him in this second chance at life? A wry laugh escaped me. 50 years of jumping at his commands. Of anticipating his every need, it had become second nature, etched into my bones. I had just finished brewing ginger tea and set it on the table when Zhang Wenli emerged wearing fresh clothes. Seeing her outfit, I snapped. Zhang Wenli, that's my Chinese New Year dress. Who said you could wear it? Jiang Weiguo retorted defensively. I gave it to her. It's the only new outfit we have. Wenli needed decent clothes. Your rags are practically falling apart. My first new dress in 4 years of marriage, gifted to another woman without hesitation. Jiang Weiguo didn't even glance at me, frowning at the ginger tea on the table. Didn't I tell you to add more brown sugar? Why didn't you? This is too spicy for Wenli's taste. Go get some more brown sugar. Zhang Wenli gave me a timid look and tugged at Jiang Weiguo's sleeve. It's alright, Weiguo, we've already troubled sister-in-law enough today. Jiang Weiguo softened his tone. Don't worry about it. She's just a country woman. Cooking and housework are all she's good for. Making ginger tea is nothing for her. Here, drink it while it's hot. Zhang Wenli shot me a smug look as she took the ginger tea from Jiang Weiguo's hands. Jiang Weiguo didn't even glance at me, just ordered, Hongmei, Wenli's clothes are still in the room. Go wash them while you're at it. Oh, is dinner ready? Wenli won't be eating at the youth camp tonight. She's staying here. So make something nice. She saved my life. You'd better show your gratitude. The two of them sat down at the table as if nobody else existed, fueling the rage boiling inside me. How blind and foolish I'd been in my past life not to see the affection between them. I stormed over, lifted the table, and flipped it over. Eat. I'll give you something to eat. Eat shit. The table overturned with dishes shattering everywhere, leaving both of them staring at me in disbelief. My mother-in-law and son came rushing out of the bedroom, their faces filled with alarm. Jiang Weiguo immediately stood up and came to my side, wrapping his arm around my shoulder as he asked gently, Hongmei, what's really bothering you? You've been acting strange all day. I was going to ask you about it tonight. Did something happen with mom or your brother? Whatever it is, you can tell me. Here we go again, always the same story. He was always the first to show concern and comfort me whenever I was on the verge of emotional breakdown, making me mistakenly believe I held importance in his heart. That's how he managed to deceive me for a full 50 years. I pushed Jiang Weiguo's hand away and said coldly, nothing's wrong. I just can't stand seeing you two sitting together. Jiang Weiguo sighed and pulled me closer. How did I just realize you're such a jealous little thing? The moment he spoke, silence fell over the room. I raised an eyebrow at Zhang Wenli, thoroughly satisfied to see her face turn ashen. My mother-in-law snapped impatiently, enough, you two, we've got company. Can't you behave? The boy giggled teasingly. Mommy still wants daddy to carry her. How embarrassing. I went straight to the bedroom and threw Zhang Wenli's dirty laundry out, blushing with a mix of shyness and embarrassment. Zhang Wenli glanced at Jiang Weiguo before finally gathering the dirty clothes and leaving. That night, I quietly took out my admission letter to look at it while faintly hearing my mother-in-law talking with Jiang Weiguo. Weiguo, your wife's temper is getting worse by the day. She dares to flip tables even with you still at home. Heaven knows how she'll bully this old woman when you're away at school. A chill ran down my spine. In my past life, I was deeply grateful for the Jiang family's kindness toward mine, after joining the household, no matter how busy things got. I rarely let mother-in-law lift a finger. Her only duty was looking after our son. For 3 years, my mother-in-law hasn't washed a single diaper for her own grandson, yet in her eyes, I'm still the wicked daughter-in-law. I heard Jiang Weigua say, "Mom, Hangmei isn't like that. She's just having a bad day, don't take it to heart, I'll talk to her. Surely you know what kind of person she's been to our family all these years, and with me about to start college. We're counting on her to figure out my tuition." His mother snapped back. Supporting a college student should be an honor for the Yao family. If not for marrying our son, weeds would be growing 3 feet tall on all 3 of their graves by now. I pushed open the door and glared at them coldly. Jiang Weiguo looked guilty, while my mother-in-law shot me a defiant glare. Suddenly, my chest tightened unbearably. Dark spots danced before my eyes as nausea and dizziness overwhelmed me. Then everything went black. When I came to, Jiang Weigua, my mother-in-law, and my own mother were gathered around my bed, beaming at me. I looked up puzzled as Jiang Weigua exclaimed joyfully, "No wonder you've been so temperamental. You're pregnant." My mother chuckled. "I raised this girl. Of course I know her nature. She's the most obedient soul. Arguing with you. The moment you raise your voice, she'd be terrified. It's just the pregnancy making her act so impulsively." Jiang Weiguo laughed in relief. "Thank goodness nothing serious happened, or Comrade Zhang would have held us accountable. I'm pregnant." It hit me like a thunderbolt. I'd completely forgotten. This must have been when I was pregnant with my second daughter. With a 3-year-old son already and another baby on the way, attending university seemed like an impossible dream. Staring down at my belly, I clenched my teeth remembering my daughter's betrayal in my past life. Good riddance to such an ungrateful wretch. My mother patted my head and said, "Where did you hide your college acceptance letter? Hand it over. It's not like you'll be needing it anyway." Jiang Weigua said to me gently, "Hangmei, since you won't be needing this admission letter anymore, why not give it to Wenli? She's not as bright as you, failed the exam twice already. It'd be perfect for her." My heart sank instantly. "No. I refuse," I snapped. "If you dare give that letter to her, I'll divorce you." The moment those words left my mouth, Mother slapped me across the face, jabbing her finger at my forehead. She screeched, "You insolent brat, how dare you speak like that? This is all Weigua spoiling you rotten. Don't think carrying his child makes you untouchable." Tears welling in my eyes, I shouted defiantly, Why shouldn't I go to school? Why must I surrender my admission letter to someone else?" My mother's voice boomed louder than mine as she screamed, "Just because you're a woman, just because you're a mother, just because you're pregnant, look at yourself, who'd want you at university? You'd disgrace all womankind." Each word pierced through me like a dagger. Even now, 50 years later, my mother's words still cut me to the core. My past and present selves roared in unison. What's wrong with being a woman? With being a mother, with being pregnant? I earned my college admission through the national exams. I'll attend university proudly. I am proud of myself. I quietly counted my savings. 14 yuan and 58 fen, just enough for a train ticket. But what about the baby growing inside me? Before I could figure out a solution, I ran into Zhang Wenli in the fields. Her face flushed with triumph as she swayed over and hissed, "Yao Hangmei, did you really think Weiguo would ever fancy you? Wrong. He's always loved me. Why else would he give me your admission letter? You're just a pitiful worm, destined to rot in the countryside, hoeing fields, and playing the ignorant peasant wife forever." My heart plummeted. I dropped the sickle mid-swing and bolted homeward, gasping for breath. I tore through the house, flipping mattresses, rifling drawers, but the admission letter was nowhere to be found. I crumpled to the floor, mind adrift in numb despair. Outside, I could hear my mother talking to Jiang Weigua. "My daughter still hides things the same way she did as a child, always under the bedboards. Found it in one try." Jiang Weigua sounded somewhat guilty. "Mom, I gave the admission letter to Wenli. I'm afraid Hangmei will blame me." My mother dismissed it carelessly. "That girl is just stubborn. What's the point of her going to college anyway? What decent job can a woman get? Could she even handle factory work? She'll just end up coming back to get married. She doesn't know how good she has it." "Don't worry. If she blames you, just say I took it." During the worst years for my family, my grandfather and father were tortured to death one after another, leaving only my mother, my brother, and me. Later, my mother was about to take my brother and me to drown ourselves in the river. It was Jiang Weigua and his mother who saved our family. Their family had produced 2 revolutionary martyrs. And they used their martyr family status to protect us. After I married him, those troublemakers never harassed my family again. Our whole family was eternally grateful to him and followed his every word. I've already spent a lifetime repaying his kindness. Must I sacrifice another? I refuse to be anyone's daughter-in-law again, let alone remain the Jiang family's maid. Staying in this village would only mean retreading the same doomed path. I want to go to college. But my mother-in-law would never agree, and my own mother wouldn't support it either. Without their approval, the village chief wouldn't issue me the recommendation letter either. I might not even make it out of this village. The thought alone makes my chest tighten with frustration. Having returned from 50 years in the future, I've long forgotten what was on those college entrance exams. The knowledge I retained isn't even relevant for the tests, even if I retake the exam. I'm not confident I could get into university again. This time, I must go. With this thought, I slipped out into the night and made my way to the Educated Youth Outpost. The mass return of educated youth to cities hadn't begun yet. Those with connections had already gone back, leaving only those without any pull. I stood at the entrance of the Educated Youth Outpost, shouting Zhang Wenli's name at the top of my lungs. Zhang Wenli, hurry up and return my clothes, you shameless vixen. Did you really think cozying up to my man would get you a free outfit? My voice carried far, and soon everyone from the outpost came pouring out to watch the spectacle. Zhang Wenli's face flushed crimson as she lunged at me. You filthy liar, how dare you spread such nonsense? I'll rip that lying mouth right off your face. I dodged nimbly and kicked her squarely, yelling, what's this, guilty conscience? Tell me I'm wrong, didn't you cling to my man today? Aren't you wearing my brand new dress right now? Lu Jiqing, Zhang Wenli's close friend, glared at me furiously. Yao Hongmei, you ungrateful wretch, if Wenli hadn't saved your husband, you'd be wearing morning clothes by now. I planted my hands on my hips and spat. Pa, my man can swim just fine. Since when did he need rescuing? She was just trying to take advantage of him and con me out of my clothes. Zhang Wenli, give me back my dress this instant. I lunged to tear the dress right off her body, embodying the quintessential village shrew to perfection. Sniveling, Zhang Wenli yanked off the dress and flung it at my feet. Take it, like I'd ever want your rags, I sneered. If you don't want him, why are you still wearing his clothes? Stay away from my man from now on. I know you've always had your eyes on him, we're married with children now, yet you're still clinging to him. Have you no shame? That's a lie, a complete lie. Zhang Wenli stamped her feet and burst into tears. Seizing the opportunity, I rushed into the educated youth dormitory, searched Zhang Wenli's bunk, and finally retrieved my admission notice. Clutching the admission letter, I walked out with Zhang Wenli trailing behind. She lunged to snatch it, so I raised it threateningly as if to tear it apart. Try taking it and I'll rip this to shreds. The other educated youths kept calling me a thief. I stared coldly at Zhang Wenli. They're all accusing me of theft. Dare you tell them what I'm actually holding? Would you publicly admit this belongs to you? Zhang Wenli bit her lip and remained silent. She didn't dare. If the others found out and reported her university dreams would be over. Seeing her like this, I sneered and walked away. Zhang Wenli, what's mine stays mine, you can't take it. In the dead of night, I heard frantic banging on the door. A woman's voice cried urgently, Jiang Weigua, get up now. Zhang Wenli jumped into the river. Jiang Weigua bolted upright and dashed out barefoot. Startled, I slowly lay back down and shut the bedroom door properly. We've got a tough battle ahead tomorrow. Before sunrise, the house was already filled with commotion. Jiang Weigua pounded on the door. Yao Hongmei, what exactly did you say to educated youth Zhang last night? Why would you drive her to suicide? Yawning, I retorted, she's still alive. Isn't she? Why are you yelling at me? All this drama about dying, maybe she's just ashamed because I exposed her dirty little secret. Jiang Weigua stared at me in shock. Hongmei, I thought you were different from other village women. You're supposed to be educated, cultured, a progressive young woman. How could you become so vulgar and shrewish? Crossing my arms and leaning against the doorframe, I shot back. That's right, this is who I am. Too late for regrets now. We've been married 4 years. My mother-in-law slapped her thighs in outrage. Good heavens, what decent wife dares speak to her husband like this? Such disgrace for our family. The brigade leader entered with a stern face. Zhang Jiqing is still in the infirmary. Claims your Hanmei drove her to jump into the river. The educated youth are making quite a scene. You'd better think carefully about how to answer for this. Cutting Jiang Weigua off, I retorted, Brigade leader, I never pressured her. I just went to reclaim my clothes. Whatever suicidal nonsense she pulls is her own business. Jiang Weigua remained silent, fixing me with that disappointed stare. Seeing that familiar look again sent a tremor through me, and I instinctively lowered my head. In my past life, whenever he looked at me like that, I'd instantly feel guilty and lower my voice. anxiously wondering if I'd done something wrong to upset or disappoint him, but now, I shouldn't hold any expectations for him anymore. I looked up at the captain and said, "Captain, she's the one making all this fuss. You should ask her what this tantrum is about. What does she actually want?" The captain sighed, turned away with his hands behind his back, and said, "Let Weigwa explain it to you." Jiang Weigwa said unhappily. "Wenli hasn't said anything. But Lu Jiqing claims you've ruined her reputation and must make it up to her." I stayed silent, waiting for him to continue. "Lu Jiqing insists you voluntarily give your admission letter to Wenli so she can attend school." I chuckled. "What's next? Should I also compensate her with tuition money?" Jiang Weigwa's tone softened. "I'm glad you see reason. I know pregnancy makes you prone to overthinking, which is why I gave your letter to Wenli without telling you. Who knew you'd take it back? As for money, she's only asking for 200 yuan. What, 200 yuan? Where would our family get that kind of money? Go tell Zhang Jiqing we don't have it." Before I could speak, my mother-in-law started shouting. Jiang Weigwa looked at his mother helplessly. "Mom, this isn't the time to make trouble." The mother-in-law retorted angrily. "Make trouble? She's just trying to extort money. What does her life or death drama have to do with us? At most, we'll just give her the admission notice." Apparently everyone knew Jiang Weigwa had given the admission notice to Zhang Wenli. I was the only one kept in the dark. Jiang Weigwa countered, "Mom, Wenli's family isn't well off. After all these years working in the countryside, she hasn't saved a penny. You can't expect her to go to college empty-handed." The mother-in-law muttered, "That's her problem." Watching Jiang Weigwa and his mother casually decide to hand my admission letter to Zhang Wenli again in just a few words. They knew perfectly well I objected, even snatched the letter back, yet never bothered to ask my opinion. I just felt this inexplicable pang of sorrow. In my past life, was I also like this, never receiving any respect at home? I pushed past them and stormed out. "I refuse. Why should she get my admission letter? I'm going to ask her. Does she even have the shame to enroll with my letter?" Just as I reached the door, Jiang Weigwa yanked me back and hissed, "Yao Hongmei. Won't you be satisfied until you've driven her to her grave?" I shot back, "What did I do? I just went to retrieve my clothes and my admission letter. Since when does that count as pressuring her?" Jiang Weigwa said impatiently, "Those things you said at the youth camp, barging in to search her belongings, you've completely ruined her reputation. What more do you want?" Every word I said was true. I shook off his grip. "Fine, it was me. I'm the one who ruined her reputation. Happy now?" Jiang Weigwa suddenly raised his voice. I turned with a light laugh. "Fine then. Since you're the one who ruined her reputation, you fix it." My mother-in-law scowled. "Hongmei, what nonsense are you saying? Aren't your husband's affairs your own? If you keep this up, I'll have to speak with your mother about how she raised such a selfish daughter." She didn't need to go looking. My mother had already arrived. After some discussion, they settled on giving Zhang Wenli 50 yuan along with my admission notice. My mother sweet-talked my mother-in-law and Jiang Weigwa while shooting me daggers with her eyes. I could already predict she'd drag me into the bedroom later to lecture me about never forgetting Jiang Weigwa's past kindness to our Yao family. Through tears, I pleaded with Mom. "I know our family owes everything to the Jiangs. All these years I've tried to repay them. We even funded Jiang Weigwa's college education. Mom, I want to go to university too. Can't you support me just this once? Once I graduate and start earning money, I'll repay the Jiang family properly." In my past life, I was utterly dependent on others, so helpless that I couldn't even afford medical care when my mother fell ill, forced to watch her suffer. This time around, I'm determined to protect my loved ones with my own strength. My mother slapped me across the face and stormed out in fury. Jiang Weigwa entered with a bowl of brown sugar water, hesitating before saying, "Hongmei, I've always admired your academic brilliance, but with our baby on the way, shouldn't you prioritize their well-being? And our 3-year-old son, how can you bear to leave him behind for school?" My toddler came waddling in with his little legs outstretched, reaching for me. "Mommy, up." Seeing the innocent confusion in his eyes, he wasn't yet the ungrateful wretch he'd become 50 years later. I shouldn't resent him. Scooping up the child, I told Jiang Weigwa firmly, "Weigwa, no matter what, I'm going back to school." Jiang Weigwa snapped, "When you took those exams, you swore it was just for practice. You promised you wouldn't actually go to college. How can you break your word like this?" I pressed my lips together and remained silent. "Jiang Weigwa, you're the last person who has any right to criticize me." After a long silence, Jiang Weigwa came over and embraced me. "Hongmei, I'd give in to you on anything else, but not this. We're married now. How would it look if we both went off to school, leaving my mother and child behind? What would the villagers say? Be good and listen to me. After I graduate and get assigned a job, I'll bring you to live in the city." "Hongmei, I know you wouldn't put me in a difficult position, would you? You've always been so good to me, don't worry, I'll never forget your kindness, just take care of things at home for me, and I promise I'll never leave you, now give me that admission letter. I looked up at him with a wry smile. Jiang Weigua seemed true to his word. In our past life, he did stay by my side until his dying day, yet he loved Zhang Wenli his entire life too. I spoke up, Weigua, how about I go to college while you stay home with the kids and tend the fields? Jiang Weigua's face darkened abruptly. Absolutely not. What's a woman doing going to school? Seeing me stare at him unblinkingly, he pleaded earnestly, Hongmei, look around, isn't it always the men who go to school while women stay home? How would it look having me babysit while you're out? A woman's place is in the household, I sneered. If women shouldn't attend college, why did you give my admission letter to Zhang Wenli? Jiang Weigua's face flushed alternately pale and red. Rendered speechless, Jiang Weigua reached out toward me. Hongmei, I've said everything I could, kind words and harsh ones alike. Why are you being so stubborn? Just hand over the admission letter already. Can you stop making a scene? I looked at Jiang Weigua coolly. Either let me go to school, or we get divorced. You've got two options. Jiang Weigua gasped in shock. Yao Hongmei, have you lost your mind? We're perfectly fine. Why would you bring up divorce? Divorce, let's get divorced. Our son suddenly appeared from nowhere, running up to Zhang Wenli and clinging tightly to her leg. I want Auntie Zhang to be my mom. A chill ran down my spine as I clenched my fists. My gaze fell upon my son. His eyes were no longer the clear, innocent pools I knew, but clouded with unspoken complexities. Had my son been reborn? Clutching Zhang Wenli, he insisted, Dad, I want Mommy Zhang. I only want Mommy Zhang. Jiang Weigua quickly pulled him over, flushing crimson as he apologized to Zhang Wenli. I'm so sorry, he's just a kid babbling nonsense. Please don't take it to heart. Zhang Wenli stared at the father and son, her ears burning red. Their love-struck gazes made me feel like an outsider. Seeing the detached look in my son's eyes, I wondered, could Jiang Weigua be reborn? If he were reborn too, what choice would he make? I never got to see Jiang Weigua's rebirth, but I did witness the educated youth coming to give him trouble. They accused him of taking advantage of Zhang Wenli and demanded he take responsibility. Lu, one of the educated youth, declared indignantly, we came to the countryside to help rural communities build better homes, yet you locals bully us educated youth. We'll report this. The educated youth office will see justice done. Turns out Jiang Weigua and Zhang Wenli were seen embracing each other behind the hills. Afterwards, Zhang Wenli kept sobbing nonstop, making the educated youth think Jiang had taken advantage of her. Combined with my verbal abuse towards Zhang Wenli days earlier, everyone assumed Jiang still had improper intentions toward her. That's how this whole mess ended up at our doorstep. I asked Lu the educated youth calmly. Jiang Weigua is already married. What kind of responsibility do you expect him to take? Should he marry Zhang Wenli? The educated youths exchanged uneasy glances. Lu cleared his throat. Wenli says it was a misunderstanding. We don't want to push too hard. Just have your family pay 2,000 yuan as compensation and apology to Wenli. No, even if we had the money, we wouldn't give it. I flatly refused. Lu flew into a rage. If you're so stingy with money, we'll report this to the police. Jiang Weigua's indecent behavior could get him shot. I spread my hands helplessly. No money anyway. Go ahead and report me to the police if that's what you want. Jiang Weigua looked at me with anguish. Hongmei, you've got ice in your veins. You're practically signing my death warrant. I deliberately whispered to him. They'd never go to the police. Zhang Wenli adores you. She'd never send you to your doom. Lu Jiqing stomped his foot angrily when he saw I wouldn't budge. We're reporting this to the police right now. Don't say I didn't warn you. Before she could step out, her mother-in-law came rushing over shouting, No, you can't go. Absolutely not. She slapped me across the face and yelled, Yao Hongmei, you ungrateful wretch. If our Jiang family hadn't saved you back then, you'd be dead by now. And now you dare try to harm my son, you poisonous woman. Dodging her slap, I protested, Mom, you're blaming the wrong person. It's Weigua who got caught misbehaving. This has nothing to do with me. Furious, my mother-in-law snapped, Of course it does. They're demanding money, hurry up and pay them. I told them I had no money, but my mother-in-law insisted I ask my own mother for funds. Taking a deep breath, I flat out refused. When I married into this family, my mother nearly bankrupted herself giving me a dowry totaling almost 1,000 yuan. Without that money, Jiang Weigua and his mother would have starved. There's no way Jiang Weigua could have finished high school and taken the college entrance exams otherwise. When I refused, Jiang Weigua gave me a wounded look before lowering his head. Go report me to the police then. No, brother Weigua, Zhang Wenli suddenly appeared at the doorway, her face strained with restraint as she explained to the crowd, I twisted my ankle in the mountains, and Brother Weiguo was just helping me, he didn't take advantage of me, you've all misunderstood. With that, she limped away, sobbing. Jiang Weiguo wanted to chase after her, reaching out only to pull back his hand. He crouched on the ground, burying his face in his hands as he wept. A sharp pain shot through my calf. Looking down, I saw my son kicking me, his face twisted with anger as he shouted, "You're evil, evil." Zhang Wenli's reputation had indeed been ruined. Local hoodlums cornered her in secluded spots, trying to take advantage of her. Fortunately, Jiang Weiguo arrived just in time and drove the thugs away. Zhang Wenli coldly told Jiang Weiguo to stay away from her. She was now a woman with a ruined reputation. While he was about to become a college student with boundless prospects, tears streaming down her face, she said, "Brother Weiguo, we've ended up on different paths after all, like two parallel lines that will never meet. I wish you great success and a bright future. Forget about me. That man just now said he doesn't care about my tarnished name. He's willing to marry me. I'm going to marry him." Jiang Weiguo pulled her into a tight embrace and kissed her fiercely. "No, I won't allow it." The local hoodlum, his gang, and I had been watching from the sidelines. Just as their kiss grew impassioned, we stepped forward. My mother and mother-in-law knelt begging me not to divorce Jiang Weiguo. If I gave Zhang Wenli my college admission letter, she'd marry that local hoodlum and never see Jiang Weiguo again. But I didn't trust her promise. In my past life when she took my admission letter, she'd sworn the same thing about cutting ties with Jiang Weiguo. Yet they kept seeing each other secretly for decades. My mother slapped me repeatedly, shouting, "I never knew you were so wild at heart. You're a mother now, yet all you think about is running away. If you leave, what will become of this family? Weiguo is such a good man. Where else would you find someone like him if you let him slip away? Hongmei, listen to your mother. I'd only want what's best for you. Stop this nonsense and think of the baby in your womb." Truth be told, there was no need to deliberate any longer. I could already feel the waves of cramping in my belly. The herbs I'd gathered in the mountains were finally taking effect. My son stared at me with mixed emotions as blood pooled at my feet, to which I responded with a bloody grin. This time, nothing could chain my steps. I finally divorced Jiang Weiguo. Amid my mother's sighs, I was brought back home. 2 weeks later, clutching my hard-saved $14.58 with a simple bag slung over my shoulder, I boarded the train. Not a single soul came to see me off when I left. The bitter wind howled, but my steps burned with determination. This path I walked alone, yet without regret, and just like that, a decade passed. 10 years later, I returned to my hometown with armed plainclothes officers constantly on alert by my side. Upon entering university, I skipped regular coursework and instead transcribed knowledge from my past life memories to submit to professors. During those 10 years, I helped our nation avoid industrial missteps from my previous life, pioneering advanced steelmaking techniques, improving paint formulations, and developing next-generation CNC machine tools. These items were once part of Jiang Weiguo's research projects. Kept in his study, I'd occasionally browse through them while cleaning. Over my 50-year career, I've witnessed China's industrial boom firsthand. By documenting its trajectory, I provided researchers with clear direction, and their progress has been remarkable. I became the nation's youngest researcher with the most extensive R&D achievements, recognized as one of China's most vital scientific minds. I saw Jiang Weiguo again. I thought he'd become a technician like in his previous life. To my surprise, he ended up as a farmer and had 2 more children, turns out. Before marrying Zhang Wenli, her family demanded a 200 yuan bride price, snatched his college admission letter, and gave it to Zhang's brother. If he refuses, we'll report Jiang Weiguo for committing hooliganism. Jiang Weiguo had planned to retake the exam the following year, but household chores consumed him, leaving no time for proper studying. Year after year he intended to take the college entrance exams, only to be thwarted by Zhang Wenli's constant interference until he aged out of eligibility. The couple became permanently rooted in rural life. As for my son, at such a tender age he had to work in the fields, do household chores, and look after younger children. When he saw me again, he shyly wiped his hands and looked up at me. "Mom, you're amazing. When I saw your name in the news, I couldn't believe someone so accomplished was my mother. Are you here to take me away?" "I'm all packed, we can leave right now." I shook my head. "I've got too much on my plate to care for a child. Besides, staying here lets you witness your father's beautiful romantic love story firsthand." His face fell with disappointment. "Mom, you've seen how I'm living now. I can't take it anymore. Please take me with you. All these years, I've been waiting for you to come get me." I replied with a smile, "You made this choice yourself." My son roared indignantly, "Mom, You've been reborn too, haven't you? How could you be so selfish? You stole Dad's chance. I let out a cold laugh and ignored him. Jiang Weiguo stood before me just as timidly. Hongmei, you're back. Would you like to come inside? I shook my head and turned him down. A decade had washed away all my resentment toward him from past lives. I turned around and kept walking forward. Behind me echoed the sounds of Zhang Wenli fighting with him. I came home, pushed open the door, and said to my gray-haired mother, "Mom, I'm back. I've been doing really well all these years. See, I didn't get married, but I've accomplished so much." With tears in her eyes, my mother said to me, "I'm sorry. I almost ruined your life back then." I hugged her and replied, "It's okay, you only wanted what was best for me, but in your mind, you truly believed that having a husband to depend on was a woman's ultimate happiness. Look, Mom, we women can be our own pillars of strength. The meaning of my rebirth isn't to make those who failed me regret, but to become the best version of myself." Story 2, her husband, a military doctor, took his sickly sister-in-law with him. This was because the rural conditions were poor, and he was afraid she would suffer. When I had a difficult childbirth and high fever, he refused to return, citing that his sister-in-law had a more severe cold, leaving me with lifelong health issues. After the child was born, who was sickly, I begged him to bring back some medicine, but he coldly replied, "My brother's child needs it more. You and your child can bear with it." I waited until he came home, thinking life would finally stabilize, but instead, I heard, "Let's get a divorce. My sister-in-law's child is being called a bastard at school. He can't continue without a proper status." I was literally infuriated to death. I opened my eyes again. Back to the day of my difficult labor. This time, I found a doctor in advance, had a smooth delivery, and immediately drafted the divorce agreement. This time, I will make him and my sister-in-law pay the price. Chapter 1. Just after giving birth, I rushed to the unit where Xie Zhengwo was stationed without even taking my postpartum rest. When I arrived at the gate, they warmly welcomed me upon hearing I was looking for Xie Zhengwo, and a young soldier nearby teased, "Dr. Xie, who is this? Could she be one of your admirers? I never expected you and sister-in-law to be so happy. And yet here's a girl willing to travel 1,000 miles to find you." I pushed the door open, intending to greet Xie Zhengwo. To my surprise, his face immediately darkened as soon as he saw me, because his sister-in-law Qin Mei was lying naked beneath him, and Xie Zhengwo's hands, which were giving her a massage, were still resting on her back. The little soldier next to them, who was already used to such scenes, smiled and closed the door for us. Qin Mei heard my voice and quickly clutched her clothes, looking up at me. "Chuanwan, why are you here?" As soon as these words were spoken, we looked at each other's faces and both froze. Qin Mei is 6 years older than me, but now her skin is flawless, with not a single wrinkle on her face. Just after giving birth, I was physically weak, and there was still a lingering smell of blood and milk on me. Seeing this, Xie Zhengwo hurriedly grabbed a piece of clothing and carefully put it on Qin Mei. As he dressed her, he looked visibly displeased. "Song Chuanwan, why are you here? Don't you know how strict the military is? You can't just come whenever you want." I furrowed my brow and coldly stared at him. "Your sister-in-law can settle here, so why can't I, as your wife? Or are you trying to hide the fact that we're married, hoping they'll assume you and your sister-in-law are the couple?" It was only then that Qin Mei realized, stepped forward, leaning slightly aggrieved against Xie Zhengwo's side. "Chuanwan, what are you talking about? We're doing this here to avoid gossip. That's why we let them call us that. Zhengwo and I are completely innocent. There's nothing between us." I coldly glanced at them. Xie Zhengwo turned his head away, avoiding my gaze. There was another knock at the door. A chubby little boy rushed in and grabbed Xie Zhengwo's arm. "Dad, when are you going to transfer me to your household registration? Everyone says that if our household registrations aren't together, we're not a family, but you're clearly my dad." Xie Zhengwo's face changed instantly when he heard the word dad. He quickly gave Qin Mei a meaningful look, and Qin Mei hurriedly took the child away. I watched the child's tender back, then turned to Xie Zhengwo, whose eyes began to show panic. "Impressive, Xie Zhengwo, not caring about your own child, rushing to be a father to someone else's." He avoided my gaze, looking at my flat stomach. "You had the baby. I've been too busy lately to come back and see you. How could you just come over right after giving birth?" I ignored him, took 2 steps back, and coldly stared at him. Xie Zhengwo seemed to suddenly realize something and forced a smile as he approached. "Chuanwan, what do kids know? They're just saying random things. Besides, he's my elder brother's child, and my brother and I are as close as real brothers. It's not wrong for him to call me dad. If you're willing, you can also transfer Tian Ci to our household registration." Chapter 2. I chuckled, finding Xie Zhengwo's words utterly absurd, but he's not saying this for the first time. 3 years ago, Xie Zhengwo's older brother passed away unexpectedly, under his mother-in-law's matchmaking. It was only natural for him to take on the heavy burden of supporting his sister-in-law and nephew. Initially, he only occasionally helped out with their care. Little did I know that the more I helped, the closer we became, to the point where I almost treated my sister-in-law as my own wife. It wasn't until 2 years ago that Xie Zhengwo was assigned to join the military. I had thought Xie Zhengwo would take me with him, but he said Qin Mei was in poor health and needed his care. So he left quietly with her, leaving me to care for my elderly mother-in-law alone. He promised to visit me every year before he left, and I believed him. The first year, he did come back once. After that, no matter how many letters I wrote or inquiries I made, there was no further news from him. Not even a penny of allowance or grain was sent, only leaving behind the words, "The team is tight, and nothing can be allocated." I said I wanted to go to him, but he flatly refused. It's dangerous to follow the army, and it's not suitable for women to get involved. Naively, I thought he was considering my well-being and felt that being a military doctor was an unparalleled honor. As his wife, I couldn't add to his troubles, so I gradually stopped bothering him. When I had a difficult labor, the village doctor was helpless and said only Xie Zhengwo could save me. I sent someone to deliver a message to him in a hurry, but he replied with, "My sister-in-law has a fever. I can't leave." After the child was born, I developed a chronic illness. Upon returning from his military service, the first thing he did was not to visit, but to file for divorce. He did so because he said he couldn't let Xie Tianxi grow up without a father, branded as a bastard. I find it laughable. During all these years Qin Mei was with him in the military, everyone assumed she was Mrs. Xia. My child and I are nothing more than unwanted burdens. Just as I was about to say something, a loud crash came from outside the door. Xie Tianxi burst in like a cannonball, slamming me into the fireplace. My back slammed hard against the stove, and the scorching metal pressed against my arm. I let out a muffled groan as I watched my skin peel off layer by layer. "You filthy woman, what are you doing here? Are you here to steal my dad from me?" Xie Tianxi yelled at me. "You're just a disgusting country bumpkin. It's revolting just looking at you." He spoke rapidly, still with a standard Mandarin accent. Qin Mei quickly stepped forward, gently coaxing him. "Tianxi, speak to her in your local dialect. She doesn't understand Mandarin." I looked down at Xie Tianxi and smiled. "Who are you calling a bitch? Who taught you that?" He was clearly stunned. "No one in our village speaks Mandarin, and I learned it word by word from TV dramas just to get closer to Xie Zhengwo. My arm is blistered and numb with pain." Xie Zhengwo stood far away and tossed over a piece of gauze. "Chuanwan, don't take it to heart. He's just a child. For your injury, just rinse it with cold water." I glared at him intensely. "You're a doctor. You know this burn could get infected if not treated, yet you're telling me to bandage it myself." He gave me an impatient look. "If you hadn't rushed over here on your own, this wouldn't have happened, would it? Once you've taken care of your wound, go back," he added. Without even stepping closer, I stared at him in shock, my throat feeling as if it were blocked, unable to make a sound. I never imagined that in his eyes, I was such an unnecessary presence, but I don't plan to go back. Chapter 3. Xie Zhengwo heard this, his voice restrained with displeasure. "Song Chuanwan, you can't stay here. Didn't I tell you already? It's dangerous here. This isn't a place for a woman like you. Go back tomorrow and stay home, waiting for me to return." I looked at him, and my eyes instantly welled up with tears. "I got injured giving birth and fell ill, so I can't work in the fields. We don't have grain coupons at home. The baby has no milk to eat, and my body is about to give out. What do you want me to go back for? To wait for death?" Xie Zhengwo frowned and looked at me with disgust. "I sent you a bunch of medicine during the flu season. How did you get sick?" "I sent the grain and cloth coupons back on time. What are you pretending to be pitiful for now?" I laughed. Tears streamed down my face as I laughed. I glared at him, my eyes wide open. "Xie Zhengwo, you never sent me those things, even when I was pregnant, running a high fever, and nearly fainted, and wrote you so many letters. You never came back once. Do you know what I ate throughout my entire pregnancy?" Xie Zhengwo frowned, his tone skeptical. "How is that possible?" He paused mid-sentence, as if suddenly realizing something, and turned to look at Qin Mei. With disbelief, he walked over to her and whispered a few words. Shortly after, Xie Tianxi's voice came from inside the room. "Dad, why are you helping outsiders bully Mom? Those things belong to the three of us. Why give them to outsiders?" Xie Zhengwo was busy calming Xie Tianxi down, and it took a while before he came out, his tone becoming stiff. "Chuanwan, Tian tore those letters. I didn't know. He's still young. and I didn't notice either. The thing I was supposed to send you earlier, maybe my sister-in-law just forgot for a moment. I just find it laughable. So you never questioned why I haven't had any news. You never even bothered to ask. Xia Jiangwo frowned, looking completely justified. How was I supposed to know what was going on with you? I thought you just didn't want to write to me. Besides, sister-in-law spent those things on me. Why are you getting so upset now? I clenched my teeth and couldn't speak. Perhaps my expression was too grim, because Xia Jiangwo came up and held my hand. Chuanwan, don't be like this. I'll go to the mailroom myself from now on, and I'll keep up with how you and the kids are doing. Don't be upset. Since you've been feeling unwell lately, stay here a few more days, and I'll help you recuperate. Go back once you're fully recovered. The kids need you too. I snorted coldly, not wanting to engage with him at all, and turned to enter the house. Xia Jiangwo followed closely behind. With no one else in the room, his eyes suddenly grew fervent, and he sat down by my bed, whispering, Chuanwan, I've missed you so much. With that, he eagerly kissed me. The next moment, a loud knocking came from outside the door. Xia Tianxi sat at the door, his arm clearly showing a large, swollen burn. Qin Mei stood there in panic, at a loss for what to do. She was crying so hard she could barely catch her breath. I don't know what happened. The kettle wasn't supposed to be there. It might be that Chuanwan bumped into it while pouring water earlier, moved the kettle, and Tianxi didn't know, so he ran into it. Xia Tianxi was crying and pointing at me, yelling curses. It's all this bitch. If it weren't for her, I wouldn't have been scalded. Dad, I don't want her staying here. You have to kick her out. Chapter 4. Xia Jiangwo's expression clearly showed his impatience, his eyes growing colder. Chuanwan, you can stay here if you want, but why are you messing with things? Don't you know that a child's skin is delicate? What if it leaves a scar after being scalded? I frowned. Xia Jiangwo, I didn't even touch it just now. Before I could finish speaking, Xia Jiangwo impatiently bumped into me and walked towards Xia Tianxi. My arm, which was still recovering from a burn, hit the wall behind me, and a sharp pain surged from deep within my nerves. Xia Jiangwo didn't even glance at me, only coldly saying, Song Chuanwan, your arrival has disrupted the harmony here. Can't you tell? Tian Ci has been extremely irritable these past 2 days. I've never seen him like this before. I stared at him, my throat tightening. Are you trying to get rid of me? He didn't answer, just silently looked away, as if in tacit agreement. After a long time, I finally spoke. I'm not leaving. You're my husband. It shouldn't be me who leaves. When Xia Jiangwo heard this, he sighed irritably and dragged me out the door. My arm was still bleeding, but he didn't even glance at it, just roughly stuffed a few grain coupons into my bag. Get out of here. Don't stand in our way. Hearing this, I felt a tightness in my chest and my breathing became erratic. When I turned my head again, I saw him squatting beside Xia Tianxi, tending to his wounds. It wasn't that he didn't know how to be kind to people. It was that he simply didn't want to be kind to me. Just a moment ago, when bandaging Xia Tianxi, his technique was skillful and meticulous, but with me, he wouldn't even move a piece of gauze closer. The crowd grew larger, their eyes filled with disdain. The sound of Xia Tianxi's crying continued to come from inside the room, mixed with Xia Jiangwo's soft words of comfort to Qin Mei. Some people in the crowd were whispering, could this be the mistress? Exactly. I always thought Dr. Xia seemed upright and not the type to have an affair. This woman has no shame, probably eager to be the one to destroy someone else's family. I hadn't even had a chance to refute when the door suddenly opened. Xia Jiangwo stood at the door, his eyes cold. Song Chuanwan, get out of here right now. Don't embarrass yourself any further. Even Qin Mei spoke up, holding Xia Tianxi in her arms, her voice gentle. Chuanwan, Tianxi will be fine, even if you left such a big scar on him. He won't blame you. The surrounding noises grew increasingly chaotic, but I suddenly became quiet. I looked up at Qin Mei, slowly curling the corners of my mouth into a smile. Then, I knelt down step by step, sobbing uncontrollably. Sister-in-law, Tian Ci is your and brother's child. Rest assured, I will take good care of them and treat them as my own sons. I looked up at her, tears in my eyes, my tone carrying a sarcastic plea. Please, give my husband back to me. Okay. Chapter 5. The surrounding people fell silent upon hearing my call of husband. They all turned to look at Xia Jiangwo, their eyes filled with confusion and suspicion. Wait, she just called Qin Mei big sister-in-law. What's that relationship? I'm from the same village as Dr. Xia. I also remember Dr. Xia's wife being surnamed Song, not Qin, right? I thought I was mistaken before, but is there really something going on? Various whispers entered Xia Jiangwo's ears, his face darkened, and with a sudden push, he shoved the crowd aside and forcibly pulled me up from the ground. I struggled against him, and my freshly burned arm was exposed as I tried to break free. The arm was torn open, causing everyone to gasp in shock. Good heavens, is that arm almost completely ruined? What happened here? Could it be that Qin Mei was jealous and hurt her? Xie Jiangwo couldn't pull me away, so he whispered in my ear, Chuanwan, let's talk inside, let's not make a scene out here. I shook my head desperately, my voice choked with emotion. Jiangua, stop yelling at me and hitting me, please. I agree to add Tianci to my household registration. Isn't that enough? Back then, you said Qin Mei was in poor health and insisted on taking her to the military, but now, she doesn't look like a sick person at all. She's much healthier than me. Please, don't divorce me, don't abandon our children. As soon as my voice rang out, everyone around instantly understood the whole situation. Several young soldiers, their faces ashen, stepped forward. Dr. Xia, we've always said you were a good man, but we never expected you to do something like this. How could you bring your sister-in-law to join the army? Everyone knows only married couples can apply for army accompaniment. Qin Mei couldn't help but step forward, her face pale. It's not like that. Jiangua and I are innocent, we didn't do anything. Xie Jiangua also got anxious. Don't get the wrong idea, my older brother passed away, so it's only right that I take care of my sister-in-law. The crowd no longer looked as if they believed him. Humph, even if you're taking care of her, can't you do it in a more appropriate way? A widow joining the army, does that sound right? In our village, the gossip alone could drown her. Dr. Xie gets so many grain coupons every month, claiming they're for his mother's respect, but he doesn't send a single one back, leaving his wife and kids at home eating coarse grains. I watched them go from suspicion to clarity one by one, and finally couldn't hold back my tears. Xie Jiangwo, then tell me, if it's not because you're selfish, why have you never cared about our family? On the day the child was born, they had a high fever, and when I came to ask for medicine, you said Xie Tianxi's health was more important. Do you know how your mother has treated me all these years? She wouldn't even feed me. I didn't gain a single pound during my pregnancy, but I lost 10. Who would have thought I'm actually 6 years younger than my sister-in-law? The crowd erupted, and all eyes turned to Xie Jiangwo's face. Oh my god. I thought this woman was older than Qin Mei, but she's actually younger. Her complexion and physique are completely worn out, her child almost died, and Xie Jiangwo is still here flirting around. The composure in Xie Jiangwo's eyes finally begins to crumble. He whispered my name, stepped forward, and gently held my trembling hand. I'm sorry, Chuanwan, I didn't know, I really didn't know. I swear, after this mission is over, I will definitely come home and give you and the child a better life. I turned my face away, not wanting to look at him. At that moment, the minister strode over with several officers. He saw me kneeling on the ground, covered in wounds, and his expression changed abruptly. What's going on here? How did it come to this? Chapter 6. Several officers whispered the details of what had just happened into his ear, and the minister frowned deeply. Xie Jiangwo, what on earth is going on? Xie Jiangwo flinched. It's nothing, minister, it's a family matter. After saying that, he hurriedly came to pull me. Spring warmth. Come, let's talk inside. The minister, however, stopped him in his tracks, frowning at him. She's injured like this, and you're still pulling her around without care. Even though you're a doctor, you're still part of the military and must follow military discipline. When you reported your military attachment, whose name did you use, Song Chuanwan or Qin Mei? Xie Jiangwo hesitated, not daring to speak. The minister merely glanced at him sideways and then spoke. If you dare to forge your identity and falsify information, you are deceiving your superiors and betraying your subordinates, and you are defiling military discipline. The minister spoke while gently guiding me behind him. Seeing my battered arm, his eyes filled with concern. Young lady, tell me, what kind of help do you need? I can stand up for you. From now on, you'll be an official family member of our unit, enjoying the best treatment. How about that? I looked at him, tears finally spilling over, but I still gently shook my head. No, I just want a divorce from Xie Jiangwo. As soon as I said this, everyone froze, their eyes all turning to me. Xie Jiangwo shoved Qin Mei away abruptly and rushed over to me. What did you say, Chuanwan? Are you crazy? You just had a baby. And now you want a divorce? Yes, I want a divorce. My voice was steady, but every word cut like a knife. All these years, you've only cared about your sister-in-law's family, never me, and never our child. I always thought you were too busy in the army. It wasn't until today that I realized you were raising someone else's child as your own son. I don't want you anymore. Even if I starve to death with our child, I don't want him to have a father like you who can't be faithful. Xie Jiangwo's face changed instantly, and he quickly stepped forward to grab my hand. Chuanwan, what are you talking about? There must be a misunderstanding, and I'm not as bad as you say. We can't get divorced. I looked him straight in the eye and asked coldly, why not? Aren't you already in a new family? What are you still clinging to me for? I pushed him away and turned to face the minister. Minister, I formally submitted divorce application, hoping for your approval. When Xie Jiangwo heard this, he panicked. He pulled me over, his face dark. Minister, I have to approve this. She can't decide on her own. The minister's face darkened, and his gaze noticeably cooled. Though not agreeing, he shook his head at me helplessly. I understood the minister's predicament and decided to stay and think of a solution. Seeing that I had softened, the minister immediately instructed someone to take good care of me. Shortly after, someone brought clean clothes and arranged a room for me, instructing me to rest well these few days. I had planned to leave as soon as I thought of a way to divorce, but I didn't expect Xie Jiangwo to hold me back and not let me go. He followed me into the room and spoke in a hushed voice. Spring is warm, let's not get divorced. Okay, I can't live without you. Besides, we already have a child. I don't want him to grow up without a father from birth. I looked at him, sneering. Fine. Then ask your sister-in-law to move out and stop living together. Chapter 7. Xie Jiangwo's face suddenly changed, his tone showing a hint of impatience. Where can a woman like her go? How can she survive with her poor health? Besides, Tianci is timid. How will he get by at school without a father? I looked at him, my eyes as cold as ice. You care so much about them, so why have you never cared about me? Do you know how your mother has been treating me these past 3 years? The day before I got pregnant, she forced me to carry water from the mountain to bathe. I walked back and forth over a dozen times, fell so many times that I was covered in bruises and couldn't even stand up, yet she still called me a useless. Xie Jiangwo, when you take care of someone else's son, have you ever thought about how your own wife is suffering, how your child is sick? Xie Jiangwo opened his mouth as if to say something. Finally, he remained silent, lowered his head, and let out a long sigh. The room was eerily quiet. So much so that the rustling of the wind through the branches outside was clearly audible. Xie Jiangwo was still sighing, his lips slightly moving, but he couldn't seem to find the words to speak. I suddenly spoke up. You won't agree to the divorce, will you? I turned around, my face no longer showing any pleading. But I don't need you to sign it either. He froze. I slowly pulled out a piece of paper from under the pillow and unfolded it deliberately. That's the complaint I've prepared. Written carefully and clearly, it doesn't matter if you refuse to sign the divorce agreement. I've already written a letter of complaint and am ready to send it to the military supervisory department. I looked at him and said, word by word, you unilaterally altered the military records, reporting your widowed sister-in-law as your spouse. This matter, if anyone investigates, is not a small issue. Xie Jiangwo's face turned pale instantly, and his voice lowered. Are you threatening me? I smiled, and at that moment, I even felt at ease. Not a threat, but a reminder. I've finally learned not to expect you to have a change of heart, so here's a choice for you. Choose between saving face or getting a divorce and returning everything that belongs to me. Xie Jiangwo didn't respond, just kept holding my hand and sighing. After a long while, he finally muttered, spring warmth. Can you give me a month? I will definitely give you a satisfactory answer. I nodded. After all, my health is indeed not good now, and I also need Xie Jiangwo to help me recuperate. Moreover, the evidence I have in hand is enough to bring him down, so I am not afraid of any new moves he might make. I stayed in the military, and Xie Jiangwo came every day. He tried to gauge my intentions, not wanting a divorce, but I was firm each time. If he said he didn't want a divorce, I made him send his sister-in-law away. After a few such exchanges, Xie Jiangwo seemed to grow impatient, and his initial reluctance to divorce began to waver, but I still insisted on not wanting a divorce. But since the day I brought up the divorce, the atmosphere in the unit has changed. The minister personally kept me and arranged for me to work as an assistant in the medical office. They said it was taking care of the doctor's family, but I knew it was more of a clear message. But Qin Mei and Xie Jiangwo pretended not to understand and continued with their usual routine every day. I didn't bother with them, as after divorcing Xie Jiangwo, I needed to focus on my own career. So, during this time, I learned a lot of new things. I assisted with drug registration during the day and slowly organized the financial records of these years at night, even photocopied 3 copies of Xie Jiangwo's secretly altered military application form from that year, neatly sorted and placed in envelopes. When the minister came for an inspection, he casually praised me for being meticulous, then turned to Xie Jiangwo and said, your wife is truly a great help at home. You must cherish her. he forced a stiff smile on his face. While Qin Mei beside him lowered her head, her eyes betraying a hint of panic. Chapter 8. Xie Zhangwo was thrilled to see my recent divorce requests decrease, and he excitedly planned our life after the military service ended with me. Little did he know, during the day while I was helping manage the medicine inventory, a soldier ran up to me with a letter from the Beijing Garrison Command Discipline Inspection Department. I opened it and found it was an acknowledgement of receipt. The issues you reported, including falsification of military dependents' information, misuse of military resources, and failure to fulfill the duty of supporting military dependents, have been received. A formal investigation will be launched after verification. Thank you for your cooperation and trust. I folded the letter and tucked it into a book behind the medicine cabinet. From this moment on, Xie Zhangwo's real good days are over. Before Xie Zhangwo's scandal broke, Qin Mei got into trouble first. I was organizing the medicine cabinet in the clinic when someone came running in, gasping for breath and speaking excitedly. Chuanwan, come out quickly. Dr. Xia has gone mad. He's hitting people. I frowned and put down what I was holding. Stepping outside, he saw Xie Zhangwo rushing into the military living quarters, his face ashen, his eyes on the verge of collapse. He kicked open Qin Mei's door with a single forceful motion. Inside, a logistics soldier in a military uniform hadn't even reacted yet when he was knocked down with a single punch. Qin Mei was only wearing a half-loose nightgown, her face lightly made up, and in her hand, she clutched the bracelet Xie Zhangwo had begged for her. She panicked and cried, rushing to stop Xie Zhangwo. Zhangwo, listen to me, it's not what you think, not what I think. Xie Zhangwo seemed crazed, his voice tearing. I even lost my wife for you. And you've been with someone else all along. He roared like a beast, his eyes bloodshot, his fingers trembling. You said you were unwell and wanted me to take you with me to the army. You said you were afraid of being bullied by the villagers and that no one would take care of Tianci. And yet, you were sleeping with another man in my house. Do you even deserve my older brother? I stood at the edge of the crowd, quietly observing. Not saying a word, someone recognized me and whispered. Chuanwan, aren't you going to go in and take a look? I smiled and shook my head. Xie Zhangwo arrived the next morning. He stood at the door of the clinic, unshaven and with a vacant look in his eyes. He looked at me, his voice hoarse. Chuanwan, I was wrong. Now I realize that you are the most important. That bitch Qin Mei has been deceiving me all along. She even used the grain coupons I gave you to support another man. I didn't look at him and continued counting the medicine inventory. Didn't you say she was my elder brother's widow, and I had to take care of her for him? Didn't you say she would definitely not take your things? He was speechless, remaining silent for a long time before speaking. She deceived me. I really didn't know about her and others. What's the difference between you and her? You've been deceiving me all along. I looked up at him, my eyes as calm as a still pond. Did you really think I wouldn't notice the unusual relationship between you and Qin Mei? Did you really think I would believe you were innocent when you brought her along on the military mission? Back then, I was foolish. I still loved you, so I chose to deceive myself into believing in you. No longer in love now. His voice trembled. I chuckled softly. Xie Zhangwo, every action of yours has been pushing me away. He fell to his knees with a thud. Chuanwan, please, don't leave me. I'm willing to put the house and land under your name. All I ask is that you don't report me, don't divorce me. I looked at the disheveled man in front of me, but in my mind, I saw the scene of me falling down the mountain while heavily pregnant. I glanced down at him, my voice barely audible. I am no longer the woman you thought would forgive and rely on you. Chapter 9. Less than 10 days after the complaint was submitted, the disciplinary committee issued an official document. Xie Zhangwo was dismissed from military service, stripped of his military doctor qualification, and permanently barred from employment due to issues such as tampering with military dependents' records, misusing supplies, and falsifying military deployment information. Qin Mei was also sent back to her hometown, and the originally claimed caring for a widow turned into keeping a sister-in-law as a concubine. Those colleagues who had privately supported him now turned away and said nothing more. And Xie Tianci also lost all face due to Qin Mei's affair. Now he dares not go out, and every day he rants like a madman, insisting he is not a bastard and has a father. That no longer concerns me. After Xie Zhangwo was detained, the minister approved my divorce application. The speed of the process even took me by surprise. I officially divorced, left the military district, and took the children with me. On the day I left, many people came to see me off, including the young soldier who had stood up for me. He handed me a letter. It's from the Military Commission's Garrison Department. They've read your work report and recommendation letter, and they're willing to invite you to join the medical logistics team. I was stunned for a moment. took the letter, and my spirits soared. Arrived in the capital, busy but fulfilling work, the child is receiving systematic treatment, and their health is gradually improving. I rented a place and started a new life with the money I earned myself. The child is slowly learning to speak and has started calling me mom. He is no longer the malnourished pitiful child from his previous life. In this life, I've fattened him up, and by the age of 3, he could recite the 300 Tang poems. In my 4th year in the capital, I took my child to the hospital for a follow-up appointment. As I stepped out the door, a military vehicle from the district was parked nearby. It was my current direct supervisor who personally came to pick me up. He has always been very kind to me. It's not a passionate pursuit, but a patient waiting. He smiled and waved at me, holding the gifts he bought for me and little bow. As I was adjusting my child's scarf, ready to approach him, I heard a hoarse shout from behind me, spring warmth. I didn't move, nor did I stop my steps, until the voice sounded again, this time with hoarseness and pleading, Song Chuanwan, wait for me, it's me. Xie Jiangwo. I turned around. Xie Jiangwo was wearing an old military coat that had faded from countless washes, his face no longer bearing the former vigor, only exhaustion and weariness. He had lost a lot of weight, and the dark circles under his eyes showed years of poor sleep. He approached me cautiously, his voice trembling, Chuanwan, I'm out of prison. I've thought a lot during these years in jail. I was wrong. Are you doing well now? I glanced at him, my tone cold and steady. Dr. Xia. You've mistaken me for someone else. I took the child's hand and got into the car without looking back. The political commissar glanced back at him, his eyes filled with pity as he looked at me. Chuanwan, who is that? Did you kindly support a homeless man, and now he's you? Do you want me to step in and get rid of him for you? I shook my head. Don't bother with him, he's just a useless person. The car door slowly closed. In that moment, I saw Xie Jiangwo kneeling in place. His eyes bloodshot, as if he was still calling out my name, but I couldn't hear that voice anymore. I thought things would end here. To my surprise, Xie Jiangwo has been acting like a madman, waiting at the hospital where I work every day since that day. One day, just as my boss didn't show up to pick me up, I stepped out after finishing my night shift and saw Xie Jiangwo standing under a plane tree across the street, wearing his old, faded military coat, his hair a mess, and carrying a lunchbox in his hand. He ran over to me, a sheepish yet ingratiating smile on his lips. Chuanwan, I specially made your favorite sparrow rib soup. It's still hot. Do you want to? I didn't stop, not even glancing at him, and walked around him. He panicked, dropped his lunchbox, and rushed up to block me, spreading his arms wide. You're not giving me even a single chance, are you? I've lost everything. I can't get into the military, and even the hospital is out of reach now. Everyone looks down on me. All I want is for you to forgive me just once. I finally stopped, slowly raising my eyes to look at him, my gaze as calm as still water. Xie Jiangwo, why should I forgive you? Do you think I should feel sorry for you just because you're in a tough spot? But have you forgotten, it was you who kicked me out the door when I was at my lowest, when I begged you not to send me away. You said Qin Mei would grow tired of me if she saw me. Now what are you pretending to be so affectionate for? He froze, his face contorted with regret. I was possessed back then. I was a scoundrel. I raised my hand to interrupt him. Shut up, Xie Jiangwo. I feel sick just hearing you speak. Aren't you supposed to love your sister-in-law and her son? Didn't you say Tian Ci would get bullied at school without a father? So why don't you go back to them? What? Now that you realize you're a joke, you want to drag me down with you? Weren't you supposed to be so magnanimous? What's a little green hat to you? He froze in place, his eyes red, his voice almost pleading. Chuanwan, I've really changed. Don't be so heartless. Even if you don't agree to forgive me, at least let me see our child. After all, he's never seen his father since birth. I chuckled, took a step closer, and whispered in his ear, no, he already has a father. Xie Jiangwo stood there in confusion, not understanding what I meant. I raised an eyebrow at him but didn't say anything further. He reached out to grab me, but I pulled away and walked straight toward the hospital entrance. Behind me, he slumped to the ground like a lost soul, murmuring my name. He threw me into the mud, but I bloomed like a flower in it. Now that he wants to pick it back up, I only feel it's tainted. He lives in regret, while I live in the light. I'm taking my child to pursue the good life that belongs to me. The end. That concludes the first story. Don't go away, the next one is even more exciting. My husband said we should be filial to his parents and send them half of our meat and grain rations every month. I believed him, but that day I saw with my own eyes as he took a large portion of his freshly received salary and handed it over to his brother's widow. Yao Yao, you must take good care of yourself, or I'll feel heartbroken. I was furious and made a scene. and during our argument, he pushed me into the filthy gutter. I accidentally hit my head and, choking on the foul-smelling dirty water, was mocked by him. That push completely shattered any lingering feelings I had for him, but later, when I got into college, I heard that he had left Xiaoya, crying and begging just to see me one last time. I laughed. Get lost. The moment I received my admission letter, I couldn't hold back my tears any longer. No one knows how much effort and hardship I've endured to reach this moment. On the day I filled out my college application, I didn't hesitate to choose the distant Jing University. The teacher joked, "You're going so far away, will your husband agree? What if he runs off with someone else by the time you come back?" Every time my husband Jiang Huai is mentioned, people always think I'm the one who's lucky to have him. After all, he's so outstanding. While I seem so ordinary, he's hardworking and ambitious, with good looks, and at a young age, he became the director of a coal mine. While I only got the chance to stand by his side because of a childhood engagement, that childhood engagement is the only reason I got to stand by his side. I smiled and said firmly, "If it's meant to be, it will be. If it's not, forcing it won't help. What's the point of staying together if the heart is gone? Besides, free love is now encouraged. If it doesn't work out, I can always find someone else." Perhaps startled by my words, the teacher patted my shoulder, reminding me to lower my voice and not speak so confidently. He whispered, "Jiang Huai is a rare good man, with a great job and excellent conditions. If you really think that way, then, if Jiang Huai runs away, don't come crying to me." I paused and replied, "I won't." After leaving school, I followed the crowd heading home. 2 years ago, Jiang Huai got a job at the coal mine. Everyone in the village said, "He won't marry you, this little country bumpkin. He's definitely going to find someone in the city, find a pretty girl in there." When I heard those words, I immediately panicked. To marry Jiang Huai, I gave up the college entrance exam, ran alone from my hometown to the coal mine in the city to find him, insisting on marrying him. Marry him. It had been 3 years since we last saw each other, and we felt a bit distant, but in the end, he heeded his parents' advice, submitted a marriage application to his unit, and married me. At first, everything seemed to be going as I wished. Our relationship grew closer, and we became the loving couple in his unit. However, everything began to change when I saw Jiang Huai give half of his newly received salary to Xiaoya and her daughter. In the evening, Jiang Huai returned home as usual, placing the ration tickets for grain and meat, now reduced by half, in front of me, saying, "The factory also issued 2 ounces of sugar, remember to keep it safe." His voice remained as crisp as ever. Once, I would feel overjoyed at the sound of his voice, but now, as I look up at his handsome profile, my heart remains utterly unmoved. Perhaps, I truly am exhausted. I subconsciously touched the scar on my forehead, which I got half a year ago when I discovered he had secretly given our grain and meat coupons to his brother's widow, left behind when he pushed me into the gutter. I stopped looking at him and got up to cook in the kitchen. He finished his usual routine of washing up, changed into his regular clothes, and came to help me in the kitchen. My hand paused while stir-frying. Who would have thought that this promising young director at the coal mine would turn out to be such a gentle, considerate, and loving husband at home, right? Once, I also felt I was very lucky, but when I saw that the casual clothes he changed into were not the gray shirt I bought, my hand holding the spatula couldn't help but tremble. I struggled to hold back my tears, telling myself I couldn't cry. However, the spatula still slipped from my hand. I left the kitchen. Jiang Huai glanced at me, took over the spatula, and continued cooking, saying, "I know you love spicy food, so I added extra chili to this dish. Eat more." He took off his apron, served the meal in front of me, playing the role of a good man as always. If it weren't for his lies, claiming that the monthly grain and meat coupons were sent to his in-laws, if it weren't for me witnessing him handing over his hard-earned salary to his brother's widow, if it weren't for him callously pushing me into the gutter for another woman, I can hardly believe that such despicable actions came from the same person. I took a deep breath, telling myself that since this man no longer has a place for me in his heart, it's time to let go bravely. Go ahead. Just then, there was a knock at the door. No guessing needed. Xiaoya had brought her child over again to mooch a meal at our place. I didn't move. Jiang Huai got up to open the door, welcoming them in. Xiaoya's gentle and sweet voice rang out, "Sister-in-law, I'm sorry to bother you again." She wore a vibrant red trench coat, her fair skin and oval-shaped face exuding an irresistible charm with every move. Her daughter seemed to have grown accustomed to the environment here. Upon seeing the meal prepared, she happily cheered and skillfully grabbed a bowl and scooped rice from the pot. She first served herself a bowl, then carefully served one for Qiaoya as well. The mother and daughter sat down at the table, chatting and laughing with Jiang Huai, as if they were the real family. While I became the extra person in this home, the superfluous one, however, an unexpected incident occurred when the three of them began to eat. Xia Xiaobao suddenly vomited, shouting while doing so, "It's so spicy, it's killing me." Qiaoya also furrowed her brows, though she said nothing. Her expression showed she was enduring the chili's sting. Meanwhile, I continued eating as if nothing had happened, ignoring their distress. Jiang Huai quickly served a bowl of soup to each of the mother and daughter. Unexpectedly, after drinking the hot soup, they felt even spicier. In the end, Qiaoya left our house, holding Xia Xiaobao, who was crying with tears streaming down her face. Before leaving, she said to Jiang Huai in a trembling voice, "Sister-in-law probably doesn't welcome me. I won't come again." Jiang Huai saw them to the door and returned to the house. His brow furrowed. I pretended not to see him and continued eating my meal. "Were you doing that on purpose?" Jiang Huai's tone carried a hint of doubt. Without looking up, I replied, "The food you cooked." He seemed choked up and after a moment slowly said, "I only cooked one dish." Jiang Huai sighed and started repeating his worn-out excuse again. Before Songqing passed away, he held my hand and asked me to take good care of them. It's not easy for Qiaoya, a single mother, to raise a child. So I naturally need to show more concern. You're good at cooking, and little Bao loves the food you make." Songqing was Jiang Huai's close friend and subordinate, who tragically lost his life in a coal mine collapse. Qiaoya, Songqing's wife, was originally a city belle, unable to carry heavy loads or do manual labor. With Songqing gone, their lives as a mother and daughter fell into hardship. Jiang Huai recalled the first time he met Qiaoya. She was dressed in coarse cloth, her face covered in dust, eating charred food, still holding the feverish child. At that moment, he felt shocked and guilty, feeling he had let down Songqing's trust, so he told me that taking care of Qiaoya was his responsibility, and he had to take it on. His eyes were filled with compassion for Qiaoya, perhaps without even realizing it. Every time Qiaoya was mentioned, his gaze would soften. There is always a sense of compassion. But for me, these no longer matter. I gave him a sidelong glance and asked coldly, "So you pity her struggles and deceive me? So you give her half of your salary? So you pushed me into the gutter and tried to make me serve them every day?" My words were utterly resolute, my tone cold, because I have completely lost hope in him. Jiang Huai paused, trying to explain, "You started making a scene in public, and I just wanted you to calm down, so I accidentally pushed you into the gutter. Do you even care about Qiaoya's reputation? They're a widow and her child. How can they survive without a good name? I didn't ask you to serve them every day, just to let them eat at home. Don't make it sound so harsh." The pent-up emotions of the past 6 months nearly overwhelmed me like a tidal wave upon hearing him say those words. "Jiang Huai, is she taking half your salary every month? Is she living off you? Am I not stating the facts? Isn't that right? Am I wrong? I don't know if she can survive without a reputation. But if you continue to support her like this, we can't survive anymore." Even though I had decided to let go of this man, the bitterness of being betrayed still gnawed at my heart. Have you ever thought about me, about our home, about my reputation, about what I've become in the eyes of our neighbors? Tears streamed down like pearls off a broken string, impossible to stop. He certainly knew, but compared to Qiaoya, all of this paled into insignificance. Seeing me cry, Jiang Huai panicked and started to explain, "Qiaoya isn't very good at cooking. I just thought your cooking is delicious, and if they come over to eat, it's just a matter of adding 2 more sets of chopsticks and bowls. It's just a matter of adding 2 more sets of chopsticks and bowls." Seeing me cry so hard, Jiang Huai shook his head, as if conceding, "Since you don't like it, I won't invite them over for dinner anymore." Back in my room, I carefully hid the admission letter. This apartment has 2 bedrooms and a living room, allocated by Jiang Huai's unit. We each took one of the rooms. I flipped open the calendar, found the date for the university registration next month, and circled it with a red pen. I looked eagerly at the circled date. Soon, I will be able to leave here. The next day, after Jiang Huai went to work, I started packing my bags, preparing to go back to the village in a couple of days to tell my parents that I got into university. Good news, and the decision to divorce Jiang Huai. While packing, I came across the bedsheet and pillowcases I had secretly embroidered a few years ago. I had originally planned to use them on our wedding night, but Jiang Huai and I never got around to having a proper wedding. We just filed the paperwork, applied for and received a marriage certificate. We still haven't shared a room even now. Initially, it was because we were unfamiliar with each other, then he was busy with work, and later because of Qiaoya and her mother. After a moment of thought, I decided to pack these items into a bag and sell them in the alley at the end of the street. The things I embroidered over several years eventually only fetched 30 yuan. Although the money isn't much, food and drinks at university are a significant expense, so this money can be saved just right. When I got home, I drew another big X on today's calendar. 20 days left. After 20 days, I'll be able to leave this place I've lived in for 2 years and start a new life. As for them, I shook my head and stopped thinking about it. Just insignificant people. Jiang Hui returned very late. The prepared meal remained untouched. I ate at the factory. He casually explained it as if by the way. I couldn't help but laugh. When did the factory start providing meals? I knew he had eaten dinner already. But it must have been with Xiaoya and her daughter. From the faint scent of his perfume, that's right, he knew coming back to eat would annoy me, so he took them out to eat first. I silently collected the dishes and went back to my room. The room was filled with my high school textbooks and exam papers. I bundled them up. Now that we're getting a divorce, it's no longer appropriate for any of my things to stay here. As I was packing, I heard a knock at the door. I knew it was Jiang Hui. He's always been very polite to me and would never step into my room without my permission. What's wrong? I didn't want him to see me packing, so I asked. After a moment of silence outside, he said, "Are you angry?" I glanced at my neatly packed luggage and calmly replied, "No, I just miss my parents. I plan to go back and visit them tomorrow, see them." There was another long silence outside, and only then did I hear the footsteps leaving. I let out a cold laugh and leaned back on the bed. Lost in thought. Angry. Does Jiang Hui think I'm some emotionless clay idol? Is this the kind of behavior a husband should have? What reason do I have to accept someone who is two-faced, spends most of his salary on other women, and doesn't have me in his heart, his husband? Before Songqing's death, I truly believed I had the happiness I had always dreamed of. My in-laws watched me grow up and treated me like their own daughter. Jiang Hui is the dream husband of every girl in our village. He is handsome, successful, and always takes great care of me. It's clear to anyone with eyes that my heart has long been entirely devoted to him. After marriage, he entrusted all his property to me for safekeeping, and I thought I was enjoying a loving life that others envied. However, after Song Cheng's death, he claimed to have sent half of his salary to his in-laws, when in fact he secretly gave it to another woman. When I discovered the truth and went to confront him, he pushed me into a gutter, causing head injuries. During my hospital stay, he showed no concern for me, leaving me alone in the hospital while he was busy taking care of that woman's daughter. The neighbors all saw him running around for that woman, and they praised him for being such a devoted brother. Indeed, he has invested too much thought into his brother's wife. What's frightening is that he believes all of this is merely fulfilling his promise to his deceased brother by taking care of his widow. My resistance and questioning are seen as unreasonable by him. In this world, what's most frightening is not being unable to distinguish right from wrong, but deceiving oneself. But now, I no longer care. Since he wants to be kind and attentive to other men's wives, let him do as he pleases. The next morning, to my surprise, I found that Jiang Hui had already prepared breakfast, my favorite poached eggs and lean meat porridge. It's rare for me to see him up and cooking early in the morning over the past 2 years. After all, he struggles with getting up in the morning. I always have to make breakfast and call him for a long time before he finally gets up with difficulty. I quietly sat down, and the only sound at the table was the occasional clinking of the spoon against the bowl. Jiang Hui suddenly looked up and suggested, "I'll take a leave and accompany you back home." I was startled and instinctively shook my head. He frowned at me. "I'll drive you. I don't feel safe letting you go back alone." I was about to agree, thinking it would be foolish not to take advantage, when I caught sight of Xiaoya. "Ah Hui," she exclaimed, her face filled with anxiety, but her attire, a bright red dress, a brown trench coat, and even the casually falling strands of hair behind her ears, revealed her carefully crafted intellectual beauty. Her hair, casually falling behind her ears, all spoke of her meticulously crafted intellectual elegance. Jiang Hui instinctively stood up, looking towards the door, but saw no small figure following her. He wondered, why didn't Xiaobao come? Is something wrong? Is something wrong? She swallowed her tears, nodded, and helplessly said, "Xiaobao has a high fever. I don't know what to do." Jiang Hui was so anxious that he didn't even put on his scarf, grabbing his coat and heading out the door. "Wait, I'll go with you." Xiaoya helped him straighten his coat, even carefully pulling out the collar, her gaze challenging and triumphant as it fell on me. Just as Jiang Hui was about to put on his shoes and leave, she hesitated and tugged at his sleeve. Jiang Hui was puzzled. "What's wrong?" Xiaoya glanced at me timidly, her eyes filled with conflict. Ah, why, maybe we shouldn't go. I'm afraid my sister-in-law might misunderstand. She looked at me and at Jiang Huai, tears welling up in her eyes, and with clenched teeth, she turned to leave. Xiaoya, Jiang Huai called out to her, turning to chase after her. But as if remembering something, he glanced back at me. I watched their emotional tug-of-war with a cold indifference. Jiang Huai's face showed conflict, and finally, blushing, he told me, Xiaobao is sick, I need to go see him. You take the bus alone, be careful. After saying that, he left in a hurry. I sneered. The free ride was off. It seemed I'd have to take a bus home myself. I picked up my pen, walked back to the calendar, and drew a big, bold X on today's date. 19 days left. I quickly cleared out all the books from the house, sold them, and with the $13 I got in exchange, I set off back to the village. On the way, when I got home, I told my parents about the past 6 months without holding anything back. Since I decided to divorce Jiang Huai, gossip was inevitable in the village, and I needed to prepare my parents mentally in advance. After I finished speaking, my dad let out a deep sigh, as if he had expected this all along. My mom, however, was furious. That scoundrel, how dare he betray my daughter? I'm going to give him a piece of my mind. She stormed off to the kitchen to grab something and confront Jiang Huai's parents, but luckily my dad stopped her. Forget it, old woman. He gently patted his mother's back. Back then, when Mumu gave up the college entrance exam for that boy, I knew this day might come. If it weren't for the fact that the Changs treated Mumu well and she was dead set on marrying him, I would never have agreed to it, since that jerk has someone in his heart. Let's get divorced as soon as possible so we don't delay Mumu from going to college. Mumu's future is the most important thing. We can deal with everything else later. My mother tightly gripped my father's hand. Despite the joy of her daughter finding her way back and getting into college, it couldn't ease the pain in her heart. This woman who had worked hard for her children all her life, her eyes filled with tears, her voice choked as she said, "That heartless bastard. I really misjudged him, and it ruined my daughter's life." Seeing my troubled expression, she quickly wiped away her tears and gently patted my head, comforting me. "It's okay, nowadays everyone values free love, don't they? You'll definitely find someone better in college." My parents suppressed their sorrow and comforted me for a long time before they went to discuss the matter with my 3 brothers. My brothers are hot-tempered, and if not dissuaded, they might rush into the city tonight to teach Jiang Huai a lesson. I returned to my room, utterly exhausted. Lying in bed, I closed my eyes, but tears uncontrollably streamed down my face. I didn't want to cry. After all, everything has become history, and I've made up my mind to let go of that man. But those were all the thrills of my teenage years. That was Jiang Huai, whom I truly and passionately liked. After learning that the man I liked had been betrothed to me since childhood, I fantasized about our future every day, each scenario envisioning a lifelong union. When my mom came to see me, my eyes were already swollen from crying. She held me to sleep just like she used to when I was a child. She whispered, "My dear, you're still young, and you have a long life ahead of you. A failed marriage doesn't mean a failed life. Mom doesn't have much education, and she's never left the land she stands on, but she hopes you can go out and see the wider world, to meet more and better people. Mom and Dad, along with your brothers, all hope you can be happy." The next morning when you woke up, your brothers were all gone. Only after I returned to the city did I realize what they had done for me. I spent half a month with them at home, urging them to keep it a secret from my in-laws. Before I left, they saw me off all the way to the village entrance, repeatedly reminding me to take care of myself and to let them know if I ever felt wronged. It wasn't until I got to the town to buy a ticket that I discovered they had secretly slipped me 200 yuan. At that moment, my tears welled up again. Upon returning, I immediately marked 15 heavy X's on my calendar. There are 4 days left, only 4 days remain. I was pulling my suitcase, about to head back to my room, when I heard the sound of a door opening. Jiang Huai had just gotten off work and returned home, but to my surprise, Xiaoya and Xiao Xiaobao were following behind him. He looked at me, clearly surprised. "You're back." Xiaoya, on the other hand, maintained a composed demeanor, gave me a slight nod, and then turned to walk into my room. I frowned, watching her close my door with practiced ease, and those casually piled up in the living room. "My things." I turned to Jiang Huai, my gaze questioning. Jiang Huai hesitated for a moment, as if just realizing something. Your brothers don't know what came over them. They went to Xiaoya's house, beat me up, and smashed things, which caused her house to leak during the rain the other day, so they're staying here for a couple of days. Since you're not here and there isn't much stuff, I let Xiaoya stay in your room first. Is this the reason he moved my things out without my consent and let someone else stay? He saw that I remained silent, paused for a moment, and then added, "Oh, by the way, you can move your things to my room. You can stay with me, together." With that, he opened the bedroom door. "By the way, where are your books, bedding, and pillows? Why do you only have so few things?" I glanced at the small package he had casually placed on the nightstand and pursed my lips. Whatever. This house was always his. How he chooses to arrange it is no concern of mine. I calmly explained, "The college entrance exam is over, and keeping the books is pointless, so I sold them." Jiang Hui frowned. "Are you confident you'll pass this time?" He seemed to finally remember something and asked me excitedly, "Mumu, did you get into university?" I nodded. He naturally knew about my decision to retake the college entrance exam. He occasionally tutored me, but every time he barely got through a few problems, Xiaoyu would call him away. Upon hearing my confirmation, he hugged me excitedly. "Which university did you apply to? Is it local? It's close to home, so if anything happens, I can take care of you." I pressed my lips together and didn't answer. Seeing my silence, he was about to press further. I whispered softly, "I'm tired." Jiang Hui didn't think much of it, just nodded gently and said, "Then get some rest." He walked a bit further, then turned back and said, "I'll go cook. I'll call you in a bit." After he closed the door, I examined his room. 2 years ago, I longed to live with him, but he always found various excuses to refuse. Now, due to Xiaoye and her daughter, I've moved in, which is quite the irony. Outside the door, their voices drifted in, his deep and low, hers soft and gentle, and the child's innocent and sweet. I sat silently in the chair, thinking, since I plan to divorce him, is it really appropriate to continue living together? I spent the whole day in the car and wanted to rest early, but Xia Xiaobao seemed to have too much energy, dancing in the living room in a white dress and stretching on a mat. She would occasionally run into Jiang Hui's room and use his bed as a trampoline. I had to find an excuse to go fetch water, taking a basin with me as I left. As soon as I stepped outside, I took a deep breath of fresh air. "Mumu, why are you back? Didn't you say you were going back to your hometown to visit your parents?" When my neighbor sister Wu saw me come out, she also followed me to the well with a basin in hand. "I stayed for a few days and just got back today. Sister-in-law Wu is our neighbor. Her husband is a director at the steel factory, and their family lives quite comfortably. Whenever there's something delicious, she always shares some with me. We get along pretty well." "Hey, I'm talking to you." "Why?" Sister-in-law Wu seemed to want to say something. She glanced over my shoulder and pulled me along, picking up the pace. Only when we reached the well did she shake her head and poke my forehead. "Why are you so foolish? Is that woman any good?" "Is she any good? Her husband is dead, yet she flaunts herself everywhere. How could you bring her into our home? Jiang Hui from your family, such a great man, is a catch everyone wants a piece of, yet you bring him home, aren't you? How foolish." Sister-in-law Wu kept rambling on, and only then did I realize that Jiang Hui had brought them back, claiming it was my idea. He said I felt sorry for Xiaoye and her mother, who had suffered misfortune. So I asked him to bring them here before returning to my family home. I gave a cold laugh. Jiang Hui was just using me as a shield to avoid criticism. I confessed everything to sister-in-law Wu. After hearing it, she cursed Jiang Hui for nearly 10 minutes and gave me a lot of advice. Worried that I might be bullied by Xiaoye, she also suggested facing it together with me. I appreciated her kindness and told her I would handle it myself, so she didn't need to worry. Back in the house, the living room was empty. I headed to the bathroom with my clothes, only to find many feminine items that weren't mine. My usual soap and towels were casually piled in the corner, right next to the trash can. In their place were a large and small towel, along with toiletries. "Sister-in-law, can you move aside? Little Bao is in a hurry to use the bathroom." Suddenly, someone pushed me from behind, and my head hit the door frame again. Xiaoyu was already holding Xiao Bao and taking care of his needs in the corner. After she took care of Xiao Bao's issue, seeing that I was still standing by the door, she said gently, "Sister-in-law, could you please step aside? You're in my way." But her eyes were full of triumph and disdain. I didn't back down, coldly saying, "Apologize." Xiaoyu was stunned, clearly not expecting me to be so firm. Xiao Xiaobao has always been hostile towards me. Seeing the tense atmosphere between me and her mother, she stepped forward and pushed me hard. Then she pointed at me and burst into tears, shouting, bad person, you bully my mom, you bad woman." Hearing Xiao Xiaobao's cries, Jiang Hui rushed out of the room, asking, "What's wrong? What happened?" He tenderly picked up the child, while Xiaoya looked pitiful and fragile. "It's all my fault, it's all my fault." Little Bao had to go urgently, and sister-in-law was just in the bathroom. I wanted her to step aside, but then, Xiaoya's explanation was tinged with a sob. Jiang Huai immediately gave me a reproachful look, though he didn't say anything in front of Xiaoya. His actions already made his stance clear. His stance was clear. He comforted Xiaobao while saying, all right, Xiaobao, don't cry. I'll scold the auntie later and make her apologize to you. Okay. Seeing the child still upset, he carried the child back inside, saying he would give her candy. Xiaoya gave me a sarcastic smile and followed Jiang Huai back inside. As the crying gradually subsided, I finished my shower expressionlessly and packed my toiletries into a basin. Back in the room, Xiaoya had already taken the child into their room. Seeing me come in, Jiang Huai paused in his packing and said, sit down. I knew he wanted to talk to me. Nothing more than that the child is young. Don't hold it against them. They'll grow up and understand. Now we should. I'll go apologize to the child or something. I obediently sat down, gently wiped the injured area on my head with a tissue, and handed him the tissue stained with blood. The sound in his throat stopped abruptly, and his face turned grim. I'll sleep in the living room. I picked up the quilt and opened the door. Jiang Huai thought I was still upset about what happened earlier, so he sighed and pulled me back into the room. Xiaobao is still a child, and Xiaoya didn't mean it. You're already 20 years old, don't argue with a child. I know you don't like Xiaoya, but she has her struggles. Don't be so petty. Okay, I let out a cold laugh and retorted, so, you brought them back and claimed it was my idea. Jiang Huai's expression changed, but he still defended himself. Isn't this all your brother's doing? If it weren't for them, I wouldn't have brought Xiaoya over. Arguing with twisted logic is his specialty, and I have no intention of debating him further. I stared at him directly and smiled. I heard my own voice say, Jiang Huai, let's get a divorce. Jiang Huai suddenly looked up, staring at me in disbelief. Why, no matter how lofty your words are, they can't mask the restlessness and filth in your heart. I remained silent. After pondering for a moment, he asked, is it because of Xiaoya? He seemed deeply wronged and was eager to explain. But all he could come up with were the same old clichés. I cut him off directly. Jiang Huai, you look like such a clown when you deceive yourself. Jiang Huai opened his mouth, but no words came out. That night, Jiang Huai spent the night in the living room. The next morning, I found Xiaoya and her daughter packing their luggage. I wasn't planning to engage with them, but Xiaoya stepped in front of me and said, Ah Huai has renovated my house for me. Definitely, it cost a pretty penny. She covered her mouth, her eyes brimming with satisfaction, and then asked, sister-in-law, I hope you don't mind. I smiled and replied, of course not. My husband gives you half of his salary and takes such good care of you and your daughter. What's a little money compared to that? I continued, why don't you just let him divorce me? Otherwise, if his workplace finds out about your affair, Jiang Huai won't get off easy, and your backing will likely be gone. Joya's smug expression vanished instantly as she said viciously, don't get cocky, no matter what, you can't outdo me. After saying that, she slammed the door shut with force. Joya's hostility towards me always surfaces when Jiang Huai is not around. In the evening, I unexpectedly received a call from my mother-in-law. She asked me why I didn't visit them when I went back to my hometown, and if I had a falling out with Jiang Huai. I remained silent. My mother-in-law on the other end of the phone seemed to have guessed something, sighed, and then hung up. Xiaoya and her mother moved out, and I returned to my own room. The next day, I went to the street and bought a very popular red woolen suit, along with a lipstick, planning to wear them when I went to the university. Spruce yourself up. When I got home and tried on my new clothes, a figure suddenly appeared in the mirror. Jiang Huai looked at me, his eyes lighting up. Mumu, you should dress up more often, you look great like this. I didn't respond and silently changed out of the clothes. This is the first thing Jiang Huai has said to me since I brought up the divorce. Ironically, during the 2 years of our marriage, I never dressed up for him. I'm only 20, at an age when I should love beauty, yet I always wore coarse clothes, thinking about saving money to help him. For these 3 days, Jiang Huai has surprisingly stayed at home. Even though Xiaoya came to his place several times, he didn't go out. On the last night, Jiang Huai seemed to want to say something to me, but was interrupted by a small figure rushing in late at night. Godfather. Xiaobao's hair was disheveled, and as soon as he came in, he threw himself into Jiang Huai's arms. Jiang Huai instinctively looked towards the door. Xiaobao, it's so late, why are you here alone? Where's your mom? Xiaobao, with a trembling voice, muttered, Godfather. Mom is sick, she's been sleeping and Xiaobao can't wake her up. Hearing this, Jiang Huai immediately became anxious. He held Xiaobao, looked at me, and showed a troubled expression on his face. Jiang Huai soothed the crying child while telling me, I'll go check it out, I'll definitely be back tonight, wait for me. He left, carrying Xiaobao. watching his retreating figure, I decided to write down what I had planned to say tonight in a letter. Apart from his neglect of home after Songqing left, apart from his entanglement with Xiaoya, looking at my 2-year marriage alone, he took care of my life, didn't make me work, considering my young age and refraining from intimate acts, encouraged me to retake the college entrance exam, and sometimes even helped me with my homework. Based on this, I should make it clear about my situation with him. In the letter, I expressed my firm decision to divorce, exposed his affair with Xiaoya, and hoped he would agree to the divorce, and I also told him about the university applications I submitted. I also told him that if he agreed to the divorce, he should write to the university I was about to attend, and I would return for a visit. The next day, I left the letter on the table and dragged my luggage to the train station. The 2-day train journey was bumpy, and I could only catch a few winks in a semi-conscious state. Finally, after a bumpy ride, I arrived at the school and breathed a sigh of relief. After completing the enrollment procedures, the intense academic life began. A month later, I received a letter from Jiang Huai. In the letter, he firmly stated that he would not agree to the divorce. He claimed that he still loved me in his heart. He also explained that he had no connection with Xiaoya, knowing that I didn't like her, and he promised not to see her again. He hoped I would return. I kept the letter without replying. Jiang Huai sends a letter every month, and I receive them all without ever responding. In the last month of the semester, he mentioned that he would come to accompany me and take me home. However, Jiang Huai did not show up as promised. In the letter, he suddenly agreed to the divorce and asked me to come home. As the semester was coming to an end, I returned home. From his brothers, he learned that Xiaoya was pregnant, and her family came to his door demanding that Jiang Huai take responsibility. Rumors spread, and for the sake of his own future and reputation, Jiang Huai had no choice but to agree to divorce me. The next time I saw Jiang Huai was at the Civil Affairs Bureau. The first thing he said to me was, "I'm sorry." Then he told me that those rumors were deliberately spread by Xiaoya, because she wanted Jiang Huai to marry her, so Xiaoya resorted to extreme measures. Willing to sacrifice her own reputation and Jiang Huai's future, she achieved her goal. She forced Jiang Huai into marrying her. Jiang Huai covered his face and wept, tears falling with his choked sobs. Mumu, I truly regret it deeply. Looking at him, I suddenly felt grateful that, when I was young and naive, he had sternly rejected my attempts to get close to him. Otherwise, if we have a child, whether this marriage ends or continues, it will be a tragedy. At the moment I received the divorce certificate, I finally felt at peace. Whatever pain or disappointment this marriage brought me in the past, it's all behind me now. I will embrace my new beginning. After graduation, I devoted myself to national construction. I dedicate my life to the country, without asking where it leads, and without counting the return journey. I will remain steadfast until the end of my life. Extra for Jiang Huai. After leaving that day, I took Xiaoya to the hospital, and by the time she received treatment, it was already 3 or 4 in the morning. Xiaoya suggested that since it was so late, I should rest at the hospital and go back tomorrow. I thought it was too late, and Mumu must be asleep, so I agreed to stay. Little did I know that when I returned the next day, I would never see her again. I went to Mumu's room and found the letter she left. In the letter, she said, she wants a divorce from me. She accused me of always using the pretext of taking care of my brother's widow to get close to Xiaoya. She said that if Songqing knew how I was taking care of his wife, he'd probably come back from the underworld in anger. As I read her letter, I reflected deeply. I realized my mistake, and while waiting for Mumu to grow up, my thoughts wavered. Each time I helped Xiaoya, my heart wandered. Xiaoya's understanding and Xiaobao's cheerful charm made me overlook the fact that I already had a wife, leading me to do something I'm ashamed of, a shameful act. Watching where she studied, she went so far away just to avoid me. I immediately wrote to her. She never replied. That night, I got drunk, and Xiaoya sneaked into the house. In my drunken state, I mistook her for Mumu and committed an irreversible mistake. A month later, Xiaoya got pregnant, and she started making a fuss, with her family also coming to cause trouble. Suddenly, rumors about me and Xiaoya spread among the neighbors and around the factory. In the end, I had to divorce Mumu and marry Xiaoya. After marrying Xiaoya, she seemed like a completely different person, always on edge. Several promotion opportunities slipped away because of her outbursts. Watching my friends get promoted one by one while I stayed in place, she called me useless. My life with Xiaoya eventually turned into mutual loathing. I often can't help but wonder, would things have been different if I hadn't approached Xiaoya? I have no way of knowing the answer, yet, my life has truly been meaningless. That's it for today's story. If you enjoyed this video, Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Feel free to leave any suggestions in the comments below. See you in the next video.